Every 4 years, we sit down to watch the World Cup expecting the same handful of names to be in the conversation in the knockout stage. Brazil, Germany, France, Argentina, Spain. And in almost every World Cup, somebody refuses to read the script. From 1994 to 2022, every single tournament had one team, one country, that nobody was talking about beforehand and everybody was talking about by the end. Some were countries that had only just been invented. Some had never won a single World Cup match in their history. So, here's the biggest underdog story from every World Cup from 1994 to 2022. Brazil won the 1994 World Cup. We all remember that. Fourth star Romario Bebeto, the final in Pasadena. But the more interesting story of that tournament, looking back now, was a country that was barely 4 years out of communism, Bulgaria. To put this into context, the Berlin Wall came down in 1989. Bulgaria's communist regime collapsed in the same window. So this was a country in the middle of one of the most dramatic transitions in 20th century European history, still figuring out what it was supposed to be. And they arrived at a World Cup having never, and I cannot emphasize this enough, never won a single match at the tournament. Across decades, across multiple appearances, nothing. Bulgaria's squad, Mikhailov in goal, Kiryakov, Ivanov, Hauptchev, and Tzvetanov in defense, Yankov, Lechkov, and Balakov in midfield, Sirikov, Stoichkov, and Kostadinov up top. Hristo Stoichkov, the man at the center of it, had just won the Champions League with Barcelona. He was, for me, the first proper Eastern European superstar of the post-communist era, bigger than the country he represented, a symbol of an entire region opening up to the wider game. Bulgaria opened the tournament by losing 3-0 to Nigeria, then beat Greece 4-0, then beat Argentina 2-0, Argentina, who'd lost Maradona to a failed drug test by that point. Then in the round of 16, 1-1 with Mexico, 3-1 on penalties. And then the quarterfinal, Germany, the defending world champions. Matthias put Germany ahead. Stoichkov equalized from a free kick. Lechkov, the bald midfielder, dove forward and headed in the winner. 2-1. Bulgaria, the team that had never won a match at a World Cup, had just eliminated the reigning champions. They lost the semi-final to Italy 2-1, both goals from Roberto Baggio. Sweden gave them a 4-0 hiding in the third-place match, but Stoichkov ended as joint top scorer with 6 goals, and Bulgaria finished 4th on the planet. And before we keep going, make sure to hit that subscribe button and drop a like. It really helps the channel out. I'm Alex, welcome to Football Interest if it's your first time here. Around here, I bring you the best stories, hidden gems, and curiosities from international football. Alright, let's get back to it. Now, 1998 belongs to France. Zidane, the two headers, the Champs Elysees. We know the story. The more interesting one, again, was a country that, 3 years earlier, had just come out of a war. Croatia, independent since 1991. Recognized by FIFA in '92. The Croatian War of Independence didn't officially end until 1995. So when this side arrived in France in '98, they were a national team that had effectively existed for 6 years. And they were playing for a country whose modern flag, modern anthem, modern identity was still being shaped in real time. Football was part of that. Football was the front door. The Croatia squad, Suker up top, proper striker, finisher of the highest order. Boban as captain, the man who'd kicked a Yugoslav police officer in defense of Croatian fans in 1990, who became a literal symbol of the new nation. Prosinecki, Jarni at left back, Asanovic, Bilic and Stimac at the back, Vlahovic as a foil. For a country of barely 4 million people, that depth of talent is remarkable. Croatia's squad, Suker up top, proper striker, finisher of the highest order. Boban as captain, Prosinecki, Jarni at left back, Asanovic, Bilic and Stimac at the back, Vlahovic as a foil. For a country of barely 4 million people, that depth of talent is remarkable. Group stage, Croatia was in Group H. 3-1 against Jamaica, goals from Stanic, Prosinecki, and Suker. 1-0 Japan through Suker. 1-0 loss to Argentina, didn't matter, through in second. Round of 16, Romania 1-0, Suker from the spot. Quarterfinal, Croatia 3, Germany 0, 3-0 against Germany. Reigning European champions, Jarni, Vlahovic, Suker. Total demolition. The semifinal in Paris, though, that's the one I think about. Suker put Croatia ahead just after halftime. France looked done. And then Lilian Thuram, the right back, the defender, the man with exactly 2 international goals in his entire career, scored both of them in the same match to send France to the final. Croatia beat the Netherlands 2-1 in the third-place match, Przinecki, and Shuker. Shuker won the Golden Boot with 6 goals. Now 2002, the Korea-Japan World Cup, Brazil's tournament, Ronaldo's redemption, the 5 stars. But the actual story of that World Cup, the proper one, was the host. The co-host, technically. South Korea. South Korea before 2002 had played in 5 World Cups. Their record, 0 wins. Nothing. The wider picture is just as important. Korea in the early 2000s was riding one of the fastest economic transformations any country has ever produced. 40 years removed from being among the poorest nations on Earth. 16 years removed from the end of military rule. And here they were, hosting the World Cup jointly with Japan, opening Asia up to the global game in a way nobody had managed before. To do it properly, they brought in Guus Hiddink, Dutch, methodical, tactical. The man who basically rebuilt the national side from the ground up in 2 years. The lineup, and sorry in advance if I mispronounce any names, Lee Woon-jae in goal, Choi Jin-chul, Hong Myung-boo as captain, Kim Tae-young at the back, Song Chong-gug and Lee Young-pyo as wingbacks, Yoo Sang-chul and Kim Nam-il in midfield. Park Ji-sung in front of them, and Park Ji-sung, by the way, would go on to win Champions Leagues at Manchester United, partly because Hiddink would take him to PSV after this tournament. Seol Ki-hyeon and On Young-won up top. Group stage, Group D, Korea 2-0 Poland, 1-1 with the United States, and then Korea 1-0 Portugal, with Figo, Rui Costa, Pauleta eliminated by a Park Ji-sung goal. Korea topped the group. In the round of 16, Italy. Trapattoni, Totti, Maldini, Vieri. Italy went ahead. Seol Ki-hyeon equalized in regulation, and On Young-won headed in the golden goal in extra time. 2-1. And here's the bit nobody believes the first time they hear it. On was playing for an Italian club at the time. After that goal, his Italian club tore up his contract on the spot. Cancelled it. Sent him home for scoring against Italy. Quarterfinal against Spain. Goalless after extra time, penalties, Korea won 5-3, through to the semifinal of the World Cup. They lost to Germany 1-0 through Ballack. They lost the third place match to Turkey 3-2. 4th in the world. The first and still only Asian team ever to reach a World Cup semifinal. Were the matches against Italy and Spain controversial? Of course they were. There are entire documentaries about it. But strip the refereeing out of it and Korea were still athletic, organized, relentless. Hiddink had built something properly modern. And the wider point matters. That tournament forced the football establishment to take Asian football seriously in a way they hadn't before. Park Ji-sung at United, other Korean and Japanese players following him into European football. Doors that wouldn't have opened without 2002 opening them first. Now, 2006 belongs to Italy. Cannavaro, the headbutt, the penalty shootout in Berlin. But the genuine shock of that tournament came from a country that had never been to a World Cup before, Ghana. Some context, again. By 2006, West African football was reaching a particular moment. A generation of young Ghanaian, Ivorian, Nigerian, and Cameroonian players had been formally absorbed into the European club system, partly through academies in West Africa, partly through scouting networks that finally caught up with the talent. Ghana, specifically, had Michael Essien at Chelsea in absolutely the form of his life. Asamoah Gyan, barely 20, was already a name. This wasn't a tourist team. This was a team made up of players plugged directly into the top of the European game. Now the squad. Richard Kingson in goal, Paintsil, John Mensah, Shilla Ilyasu, and Habib Mohammed at the back. Otto Addo, Stephen Appiah, Michael Essien, and Muntari across midfield. Matthew Amoah and Asamoah Gyan up top. Group E was brutal. Italy, who'd win the tournament? The Czech Republic, ranked number 2 in the world at the time. The United States, and Ghana. Italy beat Ghana 2-0 in the opening match. Disappointing, but, well, it was Italy. Then came the result that mattered. Ghana 2, Czech Republic 0. The world's number 2 side, eliminated in the group stage. Gyan scored early. Muntari finished the job. The Czechs, with Nedved, Rosicky, Czech, gone. Out at the first stage of their own tournament. Ghana then beat the United States 2-1. Draymond and Appiah scoring. Second in the group, round of 16. Brazil, the reigning champions. Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, Kaká, Adriano, Roberto Carlos, Cafu. Ghana lost 3-0, but the goals tell you something. Ronaldo, Adriano, Zé Roberto. Brazil at full strength, working hard. Ghana weren't embarrassed. They were just outclassed. Okay, now let's talk about 2010. Spain win their first ever World Cup, Iniesta in extra time, tiki-taka at its peak. And fitting, the first World Cup ever held on African soil. South Africa hosting, the continent watching. The team that ended up carrying that whole story on its back wasn't the hosts. It was Ghana, second tournament in a row. The squad had evolved. Kingston still in goal. Paintsil still at right back. John Mensah and Jonathan Mensah, not related, in the middle. Hans Sarpé at left back. Annan sitting deep. Kevin Prince Boateng and Kwadwo Asamoah in midfield. Andre Ayew on one flank. Muntari on the other. And Asamoah Gyan, by this point a proper center forward, leading the line. Group D, Ghana 1-0 Serbia, Gyan penalty. 1-1 with Australia, Gyan penalty again. Lost to Germany 1-0, Ozil scoring. Through in second on goal difference. Round of 16, United States. Boateng scored early. Donovan equalized from the spot. Gyan won it in extra time. 2-1. Quarterfinals, equaling the best ever African campaign at a World Cup, alongside Cameroon 1990 and Senegal 2002. And then we get to it, the Uruguay match. This is for me one of the most loaded 90 minutes of football the modern game has produced. Muntari with an absolute screamer just before halftime. Forlan equalized from a free kick. Extra time, goalless. Last play of the match, last kick. Dominic Adia heads it goalward, and Luis Suarez throws his hand up and palms it off the line. Red card. Penalty. The entire continent stops breathing. Asamoah Gyan walks up. The penalty that, if scored, makes Ghana the first African team ever in a World Cup semifinal. He hits the crossbar. Then the penalties. Uruguay win 4-2. You can frame that moment in two completely different ways and both are true. From the Uruguay side, Suarez took a red card to give his country a chance, selfless in its own way, and Uruguay went on to a semifinal. From the Ghana side, it's one of the cruelest moments football has ever staged, and it happened on a continent watching its first ever World Cup, expecting to crown its first ever semifinalist. Well, now 2014. Germany, fourth world title, the 7-1 against Brazil. The Guts' volley. The first European team ever to win a World Cup in South America. Amazing tournament. But the genuinely shocking story of that World Cup was a country of 5 million people pulled into what every newspaper was calling the group of death. Costa Rica. Drawn with Uruguay, Italy, and England. 3 former world champions. Costa Rica's previous best at a World Cup was a round of 16 in 1990, and they hadn't won a knockout match in their history. So when the group came out, every pundit on the planet had them as the 4th place finishers. The Costa Rica lineup. Keylor Navas in goal. Still at Levante at the time, not yet at Real Madrid. Gamboa, Giancarlo Gonzalez, Oscar Duarte, Umania, and Junior Diaz across a back 5. Borges and Tajita doing the work in midfield. Brian Ruiz and Bolaños wide. Joel Campbell up top, and Joel Campbell at the time was on loan from a club I happen to know quite a bit about. Modest names. Defined by one thing, a system that absolutely worked. The opening match, Costa Rica 3, Uruguay 1. From a goal down. Campbell, Duarte, and Urania scored. Everyone assumed it was a fluke. Then Costa Rica beat Italy 1-0 through Brian Ruiz, eliminating England before England had even played their final group game. A 0-0 draw with England in the last match sealed first place in the group. First, above Uruguay, above Italy, above England. Then the round of 16 against Greece. Brian Ruiz scored, Greece equalized late, extra time, penalties. Navas saved one. Costa Rica 5, Greece 3. First ever quarterfinal in Costa Rican history. Quarterfinal. The Netherlands, Robin van Persie, Sneijder, the team that finished third in that tournament. Costa Rica drew 0-0 over 120 minutes. Defended unbelievably. Navas pulled off saves that didn't look possible. The only reason they lost was that Louis van Gaal threw on his substitute goalkeeper Tim Krul specifically for the penalty shootout, which is a story in itself. The Netherlands won 4-3. Well, Costa Rica went home unbeaten in normal time. 5 matches, 2 wins, 3 draws, 2 goals conceded across the whole tournament. That's a campaign you'd build a documentary around in most footballing nations. In Costa Rica's case, I think people outside Central America still don't quite appreciate how good that team actually was. Now, 2018, France's second star, Mbappé arrives on the global stage. Russia hosts beautifully. Open, watchable tournament. And the surprise team is Croatia. Second appearance in this video. 20 years on from the bronze in '98, they pushed even further. The Croatia's squad. Subasic in goal, Versalchko, Lovren, Vida, and Strinic at the back, Brozovic as the anchor, Modric and Rakitic, yes, those two in the same midfield, while everybody else has to pick one or the other, Rebic and Perisic wide, Mandzukic up top. Group stage, Group D, 2-0 Nigeria, own goal and Modric penalty. 3-0 Argentina, Messi's Argentina, the Night Caballero had a difficult moment, and Rebic, Modric, and Rakitic finished them off. 2-1 against Iceland, top of the group with 9 points. A great group stage from Croatia that doesn't get talked about enough. Then round of 16 against Denmark. Denmark scored after 50 seconds. Mandzukic equalized 4 minutes later. 116 minutes of nothing. Penalties. Subasic saved 3 of them. Croatia through. Then quarterfinal against Russia, the hosts. Cheryshev scored, Kramaric equalized, Vida headed Croatia ahead in extra time, Mario Fernandes equalized at the death. Penalties again. Subasic again. 4-3. Russia out. Semifinal against England, and I'll keep this part respectful, but you know the story. Trippier's free kick, the whole nation alive, Perisic equalized, and Mandzukic won it in extra time. Croatia, first ever World Cup final. Well, the final didn't go their way. France 4, Croatia 2. Own goal off Mandzukic, then Griezmann, Pogba, Mbappé for France. Perisic and Mandzukic for Croatia. Modric won the Golden Ball as player of the tournament. Now, in my opinion, the most important player of that Croatian run wasn't Modric. It was Subasic. Across 3 knockout rounds, the man saved penalty after penalty after penalty. Without him, Croatia don't get past Denmark, don't get past Russia, don't get anywhere near that final. Now the last one, 2022. The most shocking team of that World Cup was Morocco. First African team ever in a World Cup semifinal. First Arab team ever in a World Cup semifinal. The wider context is part of the story. This was the first World Cup ever held in the Arab world. Morocco's run lined up with that moment almost too neatly. The whole region effectively got the football experience it had been waiting decades for. The team, Bono in goal, Hakimi at right back, Saiss and Agard in the middle, Mazraoui on the left, Amrabat sitting deep, and that whole tournament was Amrabat going from a name only Serie A fans knew to a player half of Europe wanted to sign. Aunahi and Amala ahead of him, Ziyech and Buffal wide, En-Nesyri up top. The star man was Hakimi, but practically any name on that list had a moment in those 4 weeks. Group stage, Group F. Goalless draw with Croatia, the previous World Cup finalists. Then Morocco 2, Belgium 0. Belgium, De Bruyne, Courtois, Lukaku, the so-called golden generation, eliminated. Sabiri and Abouklal scored. Morocco then beat Canada 2-1, Ziyech and En-Nesyri. Top of the group, above Croatia, above Belgium. A great group stage that nobody saw coming. Round of 16 against Spain. Goalless after 120 minutes. Penalties. Bono saved 2 of them. Morocco 3, Spain 0. Spain did not score a single penalty. Eliminated by Morocco. Then the quarterfinal against Portugal. Cristiano Ronaldo, Bruno Fernandes, Bernardo Silva. En-Nesyri jumped what looked impossibly high and headed in the only goal of the game. 1-0. Morocco became the first African nation in history to reach a World Cup semifinal. Semifinal against France. They competed, but France were a level above on the night. 2-0. Theo Hernandez and Kolo Muani. 2-1 loss to Croatia in the 3rd place match. 4th in the world. The pictures from that tournament are what I keep coming back to. Mothers walking onto the pitch after matches to embrace their sons. Moroccans in every European city losing their minds. Flags from Casablanca to Brussels to Amsterdam. Football, occasionally, does the work of making people feel that their identity is allowed to occupy more than one place at once. Morocco 2022 did that for an entire diaspora. The trophy went to Argentina. The story was Morocco's. Now I want to know, do you agree with my list? Do you agree with the underdogs I listed for each World Cup? Drop your opinion in the comments. I really want to know what you think. If this is your kind of football content, there's another video on the channel that takes you deeper into stories like these. See you in the next video.